Remember how I was talking about one of the most unfortunate places to break down? Well, take a look at this guy. My goodness. That is definitely an unfortunate place to break down. This is the Amazon facility. And this guy is pretty much just done. I don't know what happened, but he definitely is blocking the road. Now, I guess at least he made it on time. He's not gonna be late for his appointment. What up, YouTube? Welcome back to the vlog. Now, let's talk a little bit about Amazon. Some of you people, these guys right here, for what I'm about to talk about, these guys out here are not doing what I say that's being done in Amazon. There's some people out here in the Salt Lake area that are taking way too cheap, man, with the local work here. If you're taking it way too cheap, it's never good for you in the long run, because just your overhead is not going to be able to cover it. Overhead is just way too much in trucking. So if you're going way too cheap, yeah, in the short run, it looks good, right? It'd be like, okay, I'm making $600 a day or $500 a day, whatever, you know. But you're putting too much work on that truck, and it's not ideal in the long run. So as you all know, that from my previous videos, I'm doing local Amazon loads over here, and it was okay so far. The first couple of weeks was actually not bad. It's actually great, to believe it or not. I'm at like barely below half a tank right now, and I've grossed over almost 8K so far just on that tank, you know. So I would say probably used about 140 in fuel, 140 gallons in fuel. Grossing 8K is not bad, but time-wise, that took a long time. That's not like, that was almost 2 weeks worth of work, you know. So, but at the same time, you're doing it locally. So, that's the trade-off. If you're doing local work, you should be making less than an OTR, right? Well, this is true. It's a true statement. But you shouldn't be making less than somebody working at McDonald's. I mean, no offense to people that are working at McDonald's. No offense whatsoever. All I'm saying is that if you're holding a CDL and you're an owner operator, you should not be making less than your average people on the road, because you got a little bit more. You have a little bit more to show for. You got a little bit more to say, hey, I can do a little bit more. You're slightly skilled. I think the government doesn't recognize it as a skilled labor, but you're slightly skilled. But let me show you what I am talking about. So these loads, right? I don't know if this is doing it any justice. They are, look at this, 86 miles for 5 hours and 33 minutes, right? And look, it has these many stops from SLC9 to DUT3, DUT3 to SLC9, SLC9 to DUT2, DUT2 to SLC3. Money wise, $274. Now, when you're doing locally, what I have figured out is that you gotta figure out your hourly rate. Your hourly rate is the one that's most important. Now, when miles starts adding up like these, now you gotta start putting those in consideration as well. Now look at this one. This is 7 hours and 15 minutes. This is 5 hours and 33 minutes. But this one is only 66 miles. So they're kind of like balancing each other out. And then look at this one. 12 miles, 5 hours and 11 minutes. This one is 86 miles, 5 hours and 33 minutes. Your overhead technically is going to be a lot higher on here, right? But money wise, it's just 240. It's like a $40 difference. Now these are really, really horrible rates. Like even local work, these are horrible rates. But what I have found out is that people are taking these loads because, like I said, I've been out here for the past 2 weeks, actually 2.5 weeks now, and I've been taking these loads. Not these loads specifically, because I will show you, just to show you that I am not taking those loads specifically. Actually, let's go upcoming, just to show you. Look at this one, 3 hours and 2 minutes, and these routes I got to know. I know it's not gonna take 3 hours and 20 or 2 minutes. It's gonna probably within an hour and a half. It's 24 miles, and it pays you $230. Same thing on this one. Look at this one, 2.1 miles for 3 hours and 47 minutes, and I know it's not gonna take that much because I've done this one, because it's showing live and it's not live. They always have empty there in this location, which is SUT1. So anyway, these are the loads I'm taking. These are the minimum I'm taking right here. These ones I take them all day long because these are very profitable. The reason why, because you're going 2.1 miles for that much amount of money, but the time that it takes, sometimes it could take that long now, because that's why they have that time there. But majority of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, maybe more, maybe 98% of the time, they're not going to take that long, because 2.1 miles doesn't take that long. Why am I saying that people are taking these loads? Because I see them being posted on Amazon. And see, I can't blame Amazon for it. Amazon is going to be Amazon. They're going to run their business the way they run their business. And when they bait you with something and then people take them, they're going to continue baiting you with those. You know, they're going to try to maximize their profit. So at first, the beginning of this week, they started doing like 4 stops. At first, when I first got here, the max was 3 stops. And then they started doing 4 stops. And then they introduced 5 stops. And then now, as you can see, they're now introducing 6, 7, and 8 stops, 9 stops on these. And, you know, they're going to keep baiting them like that. And if people take them, they're just going to keep baiting them. And then they're just going to cover the rest for, you know, what they normally offer them for, you know. And I don't blame them for that. I really don't. And the sad thing is people are taking them. You know, I don't think the local here are taking them. Well, at least the locals that I'm parked right next to, they're not taking them, because I see them. They're not moving. You know, their trucks are there. They're not moving. So I don't think they're taking them. Me, I'm able to take some of them. I'm able to catch some of them because I'm gonna admit, I spend a lot of time. I keep my app on. I keep it on a refresh mode. It never stops. While I'm at home, it never stops. As soon as it hits that green bar, I'm looking at it and then trying to see if I can pick up that load. So I would say I spend a little bit more time, but I'm not really. I just have it on in the background, and then once the corner of my eye sees it, you know, hey, it's green. You know, as soon as something pops up, something new pops up on your relay, it'll show green. So, and that's what I do. I just pick those up right away, or I look at it right away, and then, you know, I'm just trying to be a little bit more productive. You know, I'm trying to do other things at the same time. I got that on in the background. Now let's take a look at one of these, right? Let's just say best case scenario. Let's go on that 12 one, okay? 12.5 miles for 5 hours and 11 minutes for $240, okay? If your vehicle is doing 7 miles to the gallon on highway speed, you're probably going to be doing around 6 miles to the gallon on these kind of loads, maybe even less, because you're stopping and going. Okay, so let's just say 2 gallons. You use 2 gallons to run this load. That's 2 gallons at an average of $3 to the gallon. That's $6. So you take away $6 from 240. That's 36 bucks. Oh no, $34. You make it 34 or $234 for 5 hours and 11 minutes after fuel. So now let's look at other jobs. That's 200 and let's just summarize it to 220, right? Or generalize it or round it down to $220. 220, you divide that by 5. 220 divided by 5. 220 divided by 5. It's 44 bucks. So you're making $44 an hour. That's before, or that's not counting your maintenance. Now, $44 an hour, that's not really that hard to achieve in today's market on any kind of job. You know, you could probably easily achieve $30 an hour. So now you're just over $14 an hour more than somebody who has no overhead whatsoever. Mind you, now we haven't counted your maintenance. Your maintenance, when you're running these type of loads where you're dropping hook all the time, your fifth wheel is going to work harder. Your air compressor is going to work harder. Your brakes are going to work harder. Your transmission is going to work harder. Therefore, if you're deducting 5% off of your gross, when your OTR, you're deducting 5% off of your gross for maintenance, you might want to go ahead and probably start deducting 30%, just because your truck is working harder. That's just the truck now. So that's why I just don't see, even the ones I'm doing now. I'm at 8,000 so far. In about a week and a half, I'm 8,000, and I used let's just say 120 gallons. Let's just even say 130 gallons. I mean, look at my fuel gauge. So, but let's just say I used 130 gallons, and grossing 8K, 130 times 3, that's $390 minus 8,000. So I made 7,600 so far, just after fuel. And if you take 30% from 7,600, 7,600 minus 30%, I made 5,320. That's in a week and a half. So that's not that great. I mean, it's good enough for not doing anything. I mean, I'm averaging 6 to 7 hours of work a day. That's working 7 days a week. So it's not that great. And they're considered good rates out here, you know, because they go out like hotcakes. So, but it's just, you know, overhead wise and everything, if you're staying at home and if you sleep in your own bed doing that kind of money, I'd say it's good. And if you're doing a lot less than that, I would say that's probably pretty borderline.